So I've made a pretty damn good living on the edge of polite society, on what is normal, on what people said that I should do. I live right now as an author, which is hilarious. It's like the very polite way of saying I'm homeless and unemployed in public. All my friends, I provided a hashtag. This book, this tag is about this talk, is about this book, is about travel and stuff, because we're also going to cover that, and that's important. So I'm going to talk about network-enabled digital nomadism. Now, what is that? Now, we've got this awesome Mlove community, and this is a world-class event, and world-class people are here. But what does that mean kind of going forward? And we talk about all these buzzwords. You guys love buzzwords. You guys love creating problems to solve as well, and it's awesome to watch. But what is mobile? Yell out, what is mobile? Do we have a simple definition of what this is? Go for it. It's a phone. It's things. The most common thing I hear from your presentations, it's what the device you use from your home to your work, the in-between moment, that's mobile, right? Well, what happens when you don't have a home? I've been on the road for 2 years without a home. This is everything that I own. It's in a backpack. It fits in a carry-on. It actually can fit under the seat in most commercial airlines. So when we're discussing what is mobile, like what is home? What is people like me, and are we becoming more common? So let's look at mobile and the history of it. It kind of went through this, is my location mobility equal to what you guys are doing and the future of mobile? So mobile phones kind of went from this awesome like elitist car phone, you knew one friend that had a car phone, and then it kind of became the symbol of poverty, of almost like enabling the poor. And then we went again from this elite symbol of wealth to this, $200 is the nicest smartphone out there. You can get a really nice smartphone. Well, let's look at travel. 100 years ago, travel was for the elite. And then it went to this kind of poverty-stricken need to travel for better economic outcomes. And then again, it went to the elite, and then again became accessible to all. There's 500,000 commercial flights this month in the world. Are you getting on one? Are your friends getting on one? It feels like we're starting to travel more. And so when we look at mobile and we look at travel, does it just come down to a money thing? Is travel for the elite? Is mobile for the elite? So I took upon this project. I had this great day where everything in my life changed. I was training for an Ironman, broke my foot. Had a nice long discussion with the girl that I was in love with, about to propose to, and decided that we were going to break up. Went to my dream job and said I quit. So in one day, everything in my life changed. And I went to my friends and I said, what should I do? Should I do another startup? Should I find a new place to live? And they said, go travel. All of them said, go travel. And so over the last 2 years, I traveled. And I went to all these places in one bag, working, volunteering, helping out, reaching out, talking to people, and just kind of asking a lot of questions and not really trying to find a specific answer. So I don't really own anything. I don't really have a home. Am I on the fringe or am I the future? So I wrote a book about the whole process, and I want to talk to you about my writing after the book. So the book launched, it did well, Amazon #1 travel section, iBooks #1 travel section, and it's the tone that I wanted to see with travel writing. Because travel writing is either, look at my slideshow. Does everybody want to look at all my pictures? That's like the worst invite ever. It's so boring. But the other end of travel writing is this very elitist, like I climbed Everest and people died. But there's nothing really in the middle. Right? There's no accessible thing, right? If we look at hostel beds only, just hostel beds, there's 3 million hostel beds being booked tonight in the world, right? As a country, they're in the top 100 countries in the world, hostelers or travelers, right? Do you guys read a single traveler's blog right now? I don't, and I write about this all the time. So travel and the tone of travel is really, really challenging. So that's what the project was about. And writing a book, if you haven't written a book this year, this is what it's like. It's a quarter questioning if you're talented, a quarter forgetting that the internet exists. Condé Nast's up here and Reddit destroys books. A quarter of it's writing, and a quarter of it is actually working on the formatting. And that's kind of what you guys do, is you obsess over the devices and the format. So I started publishing all my results. All my data is open. How many books I've sold, how much money I've made, what the cut everybody takes is. And that started causing some stories to happen. Because although we have this creative class of authors that can use all these digital free tools out there, we don't really understand what the costs are. And everybody's kind of has this land grab of 30% of everything you make. So I put my book on Kickstarter. And I said, I need social validation. I need people to be on my back if I don't finish this book. And I got 300 people to pre-buy the book, and I asked them all what format they wanted. Kindle was by far the first one. iBooks, a distant second, and PDF, or PDF was the second, and iBooks was the third. So then I put it on sale. And of the first 300 books I sold, it was all Kindle. 75% was Kindle. So I started writing this post saying, well, should I join Kindle's exclusive program where you just sell on Kindle? They really reward authors for that. They have a $500,000 a month for authors to just go Kindle. So I started writing the post, and then about halfway through, I started crunching numbers. And I found that for every book that I sold, I was paying Amazon $2.50 for them to deliver it to a Kindle. That's not over WhisperNet. That includes Wi-Fi. That includes desktop. Amazon charges authors the top price for delivering digital goods. So I compared what they're charging Kindle authors to S3 EC2, which I use for Amazon hosted. And the markup is 129,000%, which is staggering. Can we think of other things that are that's halfway to the moon in miles? If all these pixels are if that's 130,000 pixels, one of them is orange. You can't even see it because it's so staggering. So we've got this markup, and I started talking about it. And everybody covered it because this is astonishing to people. People think this creative class of authors are being rewarded. They're getting 70-30, where it's really not the case. So I started writing, and I noticed some things. And let's just not talk about why I selfishly did it to sell more books. The best thing about writing a book is to tell people to buy your book, by the way. So authors are talking, but people are talking. So if you guys are launching apps, if you guys are launching projects, you're going to be able to get away with some stuff once. And then your brand is going to not live with you. So kind of realize that and realize how simple it is. So I wrote about this, and I said, screw Amazon. They're charging me this much. And my next 100 book sales, direct, 75%. So Kindle down to 18% from 75%. So when I started voicing my concerns to my audience, not in a year, not in 3 years, not in a month, in a week, drastically changed their buying behaviors. That's happening. That's real. So I started throwing out more graphs, like why are Kindle books more expensive? When you launch a Kindle book, you get to choose between taking home 35% from Amazon, so Amazon keeps $6.50 of a $9.50 book, or the delivery fee minus 30%. So there's a lot of problems with all the books, though. And so most famously, and I think most hilariously in this crowd, iBooks, if you launch through iBooks Author, you hit publish, it will not show up on an iPhone in the App Store. Why is that? Because they haven't built a way for it to read in the iPhone. But do they say like, hey, this isn't ready for iPhone? No, it just isn't there, and the user feels like an idiot. They think the author's an idiot for sending them to iBooks. But Mobi and Kindle doesn't have that same grasp. There's Nook, but that's less than 1% of my sales. There's all these other services out there. I have my book for sale on 10 digital formats and 2 places in print. And 90% of it comes from one single spot. So Mobi, you've got to hand code a Mobi file. So if you're releasing a Kindle book, you've got to actually open up your favorite text editor. Imagine authors doing this. And you've got to design one file for all the formats. So for a iPad, for a graphite black and white Kindle book. And you pay the top price of your format. So if you're ever reading a Kindle book and there's a really bad looking graph, the person to blame is actually not the author, but Amazon. So problems with mobile, this isn't just, books are pretty small, but this is a problem that you guys are solving, is how do people consume content digitally? And I, as an author, spent a quarter of my time worried about how people were going to read about it. I spent a quarter of my time not writing, the same amount of time I did as writing the book, as thinking about the usability of a book. If a reader doesn't finish the book, is that my problem as a writer? You guys all obsess over, from the point somebody signs up for your product to the point they've kind of succeeded or they've left you, right? With books, I obsess over the time you hear about the project until you buy it. And then after you've bought it, I don't care. I care, but the industry doesn't, right? So everything's changing and everything is open. And we've got this bag. We've got this great opportunity to really play a role. So I just did this because I went everywhere and decided I wanted to see a book like this when I started. So I solved my own problem, I scratched my own itch. But I also kind of did something that I didn't realize was possible. I did something that if somebody told me to do it before I did it, I would look down upon them. And now I wouldn't live life any other way. So I can do things today that some of you can't. If we go Fight Club on you guys, I don't own stuff that owns me. And I highly suggest you have that mentality when you buy stuff. So with that in mind, what is home? And how does that change your definition of what mobile is? Thank you.